Hey everyone, Nelson here from Priority Bicycles, and today we're going to install a dropper post on your 600 ADX.
Please note, we recommend that any repairs that are done on your bike be done by a professional mechanic. If you choose to follow this video and repair the bike yourself, we suggest taking it down to your local bike shop for a safety check afterwards.
To install your dropper post on your 600 ADX, we'll of course need our dropper post. This one here specifically has 150 millimeters of travel and 40 millimeters of suspension. We'll also need your dropper lever, a dropper cable and housing, the cable head bushing, and these parts here, which were included with your ADX small parts box, which are 4 P-clamps and 4 washers. Now let's go through the tools we'll need for this installation. We'll need a pair of housing cutters, a 5mm Allen key, 4mm Allen key, 3mm Allen key, and a 2mm Allen key. Also have here some masking tape, a Sharpie, and a tape measure to take down some measurements. First, let's measure the amount of Seatpost we have sticking out on our bike before installing our dropper post. For this dropper post, I need about 200 millimeters of Seatpost sticking out. We'll be measuring from the rail here to the top of the Seatpost clamp. This measurement, I'm getting about 210 to 212 millimeters. So I have enough space here to install this dropper post. Every dropper post is different, so be sure to check the owner's manual to see if this will fit on your bike. Now let's measure your seat height to ensure we install the dropper post in the same position. We'll want to start by measuring from the center of the crank to the top of the seat. When you get the measurement, make sure to record the number. And now let's measure the distance between our handlebar and the nose of the saddle. We'll want to put our tape measure right here at the center of the stem where the faceplate meets the stem, and then we'll measure to the nose or the tip of the saddle. Make sure to record that number as well. Now using our 5mm Allen key, let's remove our saddle. Now let's install our Seatpost onto the bike. Make sure that the Seatpost is facing the right direction when doing so. On this one, you'll see some markings back here. We'll be facing towards the back. You don't need to get the Seatpost at the correct height yet. Just get it inside and then turn your quick release lever closed. Now let's install our saddle. Let's first make sure we got the proper angle for our saddle. And if you need more information on how to install a saddle onto a Seatpost, click the link in the description below. Now let's refer back to the number we recorded of the measurement between your stem and the nose of your saddle. You'll want this measurement to be the same as it was on your previous setup. If you need to bring the saddle back or forward, just loosen these 2 bolts here, slide the saddle forward or back, and then lock it in position once you get the right measurement. If you have a torque wrench, make sure to torque them down to 7 Newton meters. Again, using the measurements we took before of our old setup, we're going to make sure that our seat and seat posts are at the correct height. Want to start by measuring from the center of the crank to the top of your seat, and you should have roughly the same number. If you have to raise or lower your seat, use your quick release to do so. Now let's install your dropper post lever. For this, we'll need a 3mm Allen key. We're going to loosen the bolt here around the clamp, and we're going to install it onto the left side of the handlebar. The position of this will be up to the rider themselves. You could put it on the left of the brake lever, to the right of the brake lever, entirely up to the rider. You can also adjust the height of the lever by rotating it up or down. You'll want that in a position where it feels comfortable for you to press it using your thumb. Now using our 3mm Allen key, let's remove the 4 bolts on the underside of the bike. Now let's get our plastic P-clamps, and we're going to orient them in this way where this portion will be touching the frame and the flatter section will be facing downward. Let's grab one of our bolts and feed it through the hole here. Now let's install your housing. If it came with a cable pre-installed on it, we're going to want to remove the cable first. Just Place the cable off to the side as we'll use it later. Now let's install our housing onto the P-clamps that we just installed. Just to note, the first one that we installed, we want it actually on the right side of the frame. The second, third, and fourth will be facing the left side of the frame. Now, with your housing, you're going to remove the end here called the ferrule, and then you're going to feed it through these P-clamps on the left side of the bike. For this installation, I do like that the dropper cable is inside of the shift housing. Now, when you get to the P-clamp on top, again, it's going to be fed through the right side. You'll notice I made a marking here, which is the bottom of the seat post, where this piece of housing will interface with it. The measurement on this seat post is 225 millimeters from the bottom of this section here to the bottom of the seat post. This will be different for different seat posts, so make sure to measure before doing so. What I can do here is put a piece of masking tape to hold the housing in place. Then I want to make sure it makes a straight line going down the seat post and then to the exit port here. Now let's measure and cut the housing at the front end. With the housing coming out of the right side of the bike, it'll go in front of the head tube and then to your dropper lever. You want to have enough slack up front so that when you turn your handlebars, the housing does not bind. I like to follow the same curvature of the cables that are coming out front. You can leave slack in this housing in the event you ever want to adjust your seat post higher. So I have the right measurement here for myself. I'm going to cut the housing right at the end of the barrel adjuster. Now that we have all our parts pretty much where we want them, we've got the lever installed on the handlebar, we got the P-clamps with the housing installed, and we have our seat and dropper post roughly in the right spot, we're going to install the dropper cable. To do so, we're going to want to remove the seat post first. Using our quick release lever, let's go ahead and open that and slide the seat post out. Grab the housing and feed it through this port here. If it's taped down like mine, remove the tape. Then remove this ferrule end here. Feed the housing through the port. And I'm going to push and pull on both ends just to feed it through. You'll want to stop once the housing sticks out of the seat post, like this. Then grab that ferrule end and place it back onto the housing. Grab your gear cable, identify the head of the cable, which is this one, and the tail end. Now grab your cable end bushing, and you'll notice that there are two holes in it. There's a small hole on the back, and on the front there's a bigger hole. We're going to feed our tail through the bigger hole, and just feed that through so that the head of the cable fits inside of that bigger opening. Now using the tail end of the cable, we're going to feed it through our housing. With that done, we're going to grab our seat post and the cable head bushing, and we're going to feed that into the cradle here. To install the cable head bushing, you will need to use one finger back here at the bottom and flip it inward so that this claw opens up. Using my finger to open up this claw section here, I'm going to place the cable head bushing inside of the cradle. Once in there, we can release the lever. From here, we're going to go to the opposite end of where the cable is coming out of, and we're just going to take out the slack so that the ferrule sits inside of the dropper post. Then going to the exit port at the bottom of the seat tube, we're going to pull the housing and slide the seat post in. Remember to lock down your seat post at the same position as you had before. From here, you can feed that housing back up, and now we can install the cable onto the lever. Making sure that the dropper housing is coming out of the right side of the bike. We're going to feed it behind the brake hoses and in front of the shift housing. Then grab your other ferrule end. You'll want to feed it through the opening. Then place it over the housing. Grab your gear cable and feed it through the lever here. Make sure that this barrel adjuster is fed into the lever all the way. Feed it through. Connect the housing inside of the barrel adjuster. After feeding your cable through the barrel adjuster, we're going to want to feed it through this hole in the lever. Before doing so, you want to grab your 2mm Allen key and loosen a small bolt on the underside of the lever. No need to remove it, you just got to loosen it enough. Then feed the cable through. Bring the lever forward. Keep the cable taut, and then lock down the grub screw. From here, we can cut the excess cable. So your dropper post is pretty much installed. What we want to do from here is just some of the small touches, such as making sure that the cable is properly adjusted and tight. To do so, we want to press the dropper lever and apply some weight onto your Seatpost, and it should slide down. Then you want to press the lever again to see if it comes up with ease. If it struggles to come up, you're going to want to apply some tension to this barrel adjuster here. If the Seatpost is able to come up with a little pressure on the lever, then it's too tight. We'll want to loosen this barrel adjuster or readjust our cable using that grub screw to loosen it up. We'll want to grab our 3mm Allen key and reposition our dropper lever. So again, if you're able to access that lever at a good position, so you can rotate it up and down, you can bring it inward or outward. And using this bolt here, we can change the orientation of the lever fore or aft. When torquing this bolt down, make sure not to exceed 4.5 Newton meters. If you plan to install a bottle cage on these down tube bosses down here, or any accessories, you want to use the washers that came with your bike. To do this, we're going to remove the bolts first. Grab your bolt, feed it through the bottle cage, and grab that washer or spacer, place it like so. Then feed it through the P-clamp and thread it into the frame. Do the same thing on the bottom. These washers will just help to make sure that the accessory is properly spaced away from the P-clamps. After you have everything set, let's finish off by tightening the 4 P-clamps down. And if you have masking tape on the bike, we can remove that as well. Thanks for joining me on installing a dropper post on your 600 ADX. If you want to see more videos on getting your bike set up for a bike packing trip, click here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Our information's at the bottom of the screen.